a Playlyst original.
Welcome to the Pilot Podcast,
where we review the pilot episodes of TV shows to answer your question, should I watch this?
My name is BJ.
And my name is Mitu.
And this week, we're watching Too Much on Netflix, Countdown on Prime Video, Smoke on Apple TV Plus, and Stick on Apple TV Plus.
So stay tuned to the end to find out what BJ's semi-autobiographical series would be called.
Wow, that is a great question. And while I think of an answer, tell us what happened in the city of London.
You're talking about Too Much on Netflix. In this semi-autobiographical series from show creator Lena Dunham and her husband Louis Felber, we follow New Yorker Jessica, played by Megan Stalter, who moves to London to start a new life after a disastrous breakup. And she finds a connection in Felix, played by Will Sharp.
So Mitu, you are the resident rom-com fan. What did you think of Jessica and Felix?
I thought they had out-of-control chemistry. I am not necessarily well-versed in the Lena Dunham oeuvre. I saw the first season of Girls, and then I kind of fell off from that. I don't know if I have seen many other Lena Dunham projects, but from what I remember of Girls Season 1 is it's just a great story. It's great banter. It's great to watch this awkward coming together, falling apart of couples that you root for. And we certainly see that here. Specifically, Megan Stalter is such a joy to watch on screen. She's my favorite part of Hacks, usually. Like, she just shines whenever she's on screen. So I love seeing her centered here. And then the other piece that stuck out to me that is kind of an extension of the rom-com world is having a successfully kooky family. And for them to cast Rita Wilson as her mom, Lena Dunham as her sister, Rhea Perlman as her grandma, truly, this was like my Avengers Infinity War or whatever y'all call it. Like, this is my Avengers.
And I think they added the right amount of awkwardness and chaos into Jessica's life and the story. I feel like we've watched some similar shows that maybe don't lean as much rom-com, but just day in the life of someone, where the awkward character has so many bad things happen to them, it's hard to watch. But with Jessica, her life isn't all bad. Like, I don't cringe when I see each scene because there is a good balance of the awkward and just her moving on and trying something else.
It also made me laugh. I do think sometimes it was a little too chaotic, let's say, but there is a moment where I'm going to call it like a gentle B&E, like a gentle breaking and entering.
Oh, gentle. Okay.
Where she asks the person whose room that she crashed, "Are you crying?" And he goes, "I've just never been subjected to anything violent before." It just made me laugh so hard. I thought that scene really encapsulated like the joy of Lena Dunham's writing.
Definitely fun, over the top, where you have to suspend some of your belief in this world. The breaking and entering with no consequences, even if it's gentle.
I can believe someone who looks and acts like Jessica would get away with that, actually. I didn't suspend any disbelief in that moment.
She did break into the right home, we'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Also, going to a bar, meeting someone, and them actually being a really healthy and positive choice to bring back.
That's true.
When you're in a new country.
That is a risky choice. And I mean, I think that's where we get into a bit of the semi-autobiographical part of it, because I believe that is a little bit of Lena Dunham's story. I don't know how accurate any of this is, but her husband is a musician. She did meet him across the pond. I think what I saw in perhaps the New York Times is that they were set up. So I don't know if it's quite the same as like meeting him at a bar and immediately trusting him. Yeah, in the bathroom. But it was really a testament to their chemistry. They were truly like zinging off of each other, to use a Hotel Transylvania term.
Yes, they had a really cute scene of them walking home from the club, and you see their instant chemistry. And I think that is a testament to the good acting and the good writing.
Facts. My only critique truly is that sometimes it felt too chaotic. And maybe in those moments, to your point, you just have to suspend your disbelief.
Yeah, I will admit, the very final scene, I did like that chaos.
It was funny, but it's that kind of cringe humor, and we can't spoil it. But I did find that I was like involuntarily physically curling into a ball on my couch, like physically protecting myself from what I was seeing.
Yeah, it's one of those, this is actually happening. Okay, good luck.
With that, do you want to see our girl Jessica in more shenanigans and more episodes of Too Much on Netflix?
Sure, I think this first episode gave us a good glimpse at the chaos that she can find in London. And I think Felix will hopefully balance that out. So I would watch again casually. How do you feel?
I would watch again casually too. I think this is such a lovely rom-com. I do wonder why it's not like a 90-minute movie rather than a long show, but my hope is that there is just that much more story to tell. So we will check that out for Rom-Com Hive as this 10-episode series unfolds.
We got you.
All right. Well, why don't you take us from the mean streets of London to the mean streets of LA?
You're talking about Countdown on Prime Video. After a Department of Homeland Security officer is killed in plain sight, LAPD detective Mark Meekum, played by Jensen Ackles, is brought onto a covert task force with undercover agents from various law enforcement agencies to track down the murderer. So me too. What did you think of this action-packed crime show where we have every agency they could think of on one task force?
It's like they sat down with the president of Disney and they said, we want to make history. And the history that they wanted to make was, let's just make the most crime show that has ever crime showed. You want classic investigators with dark secrets? Let's multiply that by 10. You want to have a mole in the agency or possible crime? Let's make sure we can't trust any of them. LAPD, FBI, DEA, we don't know. Let's throw in a cartel, too. And action? Oh, we'll give you some action. There's going to be some car scenes, some kidnapping scenes, some botched raids, some successful raids. We're going to do it all.
And what do you think happens when you mix all of that together in a bowl?
This show, for better or worse, because it was entertaining. Certainly it was entertaining, but it felt like such a crime show that I did just constantly feel like, all right, I know where this is going. I don't know that at any point I felt surprised, even with the big surprise at the end where we learn, millions of lives are at stake.
Right. I do think that is both a pro and a con.
Yeah.
A lot happened in this pilot episode. They go on multiple raid mission quests in this one episode for a bigger murder mystery. But at the same time, every scene was something we've seen a variation on before, so it's not hard to keep up with. And maybe it isn't all needed.
One scene that made me laugh, I truly don't know the necessity of it, but maybe it is for that laugh. We learned that his reluctant partner, DEA agent Amber, played by Jessica Camacho, is friends with his ex-fiancée, whose sister he also slept with. And he says this line to her, well, to be honest, Rachel looks a lot like her sister at 2:30 in the morning. And I truly don't know why. To quote Kelly Kapoor, first of all, how dare you? But it just made me laugh so hard. Like, it made it into my notes. I'm laughing now, remembering the line. So, maybe it's not about the scenes that make sense, but the journey along the way.
They're just trying to let you know that Mark, he makes mistakes. He's just a dude who is trying to do his mission in prison as an undercover agent. But now that he's brought to this task force, he's going to use his Army Ranger background in combination with another undercover agent. Let me finish.
Okay.
In combination with another undercover agent who he does bicker and banter with, but when they're together, things will get done.
That fight interrogation scene where they were arguing with each other while interrogating someone, and then the people on the outside that assigned them that interrogation, they're looking through the two-way mirror and they're like, oh, I see why you told them to interrogate him together. They either murder each other or they get the suspect's head spinning. What are you talking about? The suspect barely spoke. They were too busy throwing barbs at each other. But
it was a success.
It was successful. They got the one key word they needed from the guy, and they had good chemistry. I'll give them that. I wonder if there's going to be a moment where they hook up and possibly regret it, especially because we learned that they both have some pretty big secrets that they're harboring.
Yes, the actors, Jensen and Jessica, have really good chemistry. They fight together, but you also see the potential for them to get along. So like you, I'm curious if they'll take a romantic angle or if they'll just become solid team coworkers.
And along the way, while the action scenes were absurd, they were great.
Well done.
Pretty solid action scenes all around.
I would say Prime Video, they do a good job at putting in action scenes in their shows.
Yeah, there's a good budget for that.
Mm-hmm. So with that budget, with all the classic crime, will you watch more episodes of Countdown on Prime Video?
If you are searching for another crime show that is such a crime show, especially in this summer break where there's less TV, check out Countdown. For me, I'm not searching for another crime show that is such a crime show. So I think this is my stop.
Eloquently said. I would watch while cooking. I think crime shows pair well with kitchen activities.
Sure.
And so this can add to that experience.
That's true. You finish a recipe, they find out who done it.
So how about we go from investigating murderers to investigating arsonists?
You're talking about Smoke on Apple TV Plus. Based on the podcast Firebug, detailing an arsonist's crimes, this show follows Detective Michelle, played by Journey Smollett, and an arson investigator, Dave, played by Taron Egerton, who work together to stop two serial arsonists in the Pacific Northwest.
So this is quite a different take on a crime show than what we just reviewed.
I think sometimes Apple just likes to flex that budget because it felt so cinematic. I think the story overall for me was kind of slow. But while I was waiting for it to pick up, I was like, man, this looks good. It just looked great.
It looked great. The flashbacks were well done. And I think the slowness that you mentioned is something I will say Apple TV is guilty of.
Yeah.
They like long episodes, so they take their time with storytelling.
This was over an hour.
Yes. You needed it to find those arsonists.
Multiple dream sequences. There are
yes.
3 total reveals, I want to say, in this episode. I'm trying to remember what all of them are. I know certainly there's 2. I think there's kind of a third one where we have a sense of who one of the arsonists is.
Yes. We learn about someone who works at a restaurant. We learn about Michelle's past and why she has been assigned to the cases she's assigned to.
They know it has to be some kind of punishment because she was a big city detective working in robbery, and now she's helping a country bumpkin town essentially with a fire issue.
Right. And I guess the third, we learn Dave's new ambitions.
That's true. I guess it's hard.
That wasn't the third you were thinking of.
I was thinking more of Dave's past trauma. And this is not a spoiler. It is revealed in the first seconds of the show that he used to be a firefighter and he was once trapped in a burning building. So it is very personal for him, this pursuit of wanting to stop arsonists. I did not consider the author piece a reveal, but it is kind of one because they lean more and more as they delve into his interest in writing, into having him narrate the show. I wonder if part of that is because this is based on a podcast. There's a lot of Taron talking us through the plot of this show.
Yes, it leaned a lot into him as a storyteller, and I don't think this is a spoiler. I'm going to share it. Here's your warning. Because he has that firefighter experience, he's using that to better understand arsonists' behavior and choices, and even suspects one of the arsonists might also have worked in a fire department.
And they get sunned when they try to interview one of the people that they possibly suspect in the fire department.
Don't be accusing those in the fire department. They are working hard.
You know what they say, when you assume.
No, what happened?
Sometimes you get it wrong. What I will say that I liked is I was not expecting to see Greg Kinnear on this show, and he plays Harvey, who is Dave's boss. I love Greg Kinnear. He is on my rom-com Mount Rushmore, certainly. It was a surprise and a very pleasant one at that to see him in this. And he was charming in this role. I thought the scene where he and Dave get into like a staring contest in the office, I thought that was very sweet.
Yes, I agree. I like their interactions. I liked Dave's interactions with his wife, Ashley, played by Hannah Emily Anderson. And I like that we're mixing things up. It's not always from Michelle and David's perspective. They aren't afraid to cut and explore the world from other views.
That's true, because one thing Apple will spend on as well is a cast. And so to have Taron Egerton, Jurnee Smollett, Greg Kinnear on the same show is a big get, and they're all performing really well. I mean, we're not talking as much about Michelle because I think we just learned a little bit of dirt on her, but we haven't quite gotten into her investigative skills yet in this first episode. But she is still interesting to watch. I think that there's a lot of room in future episodes to understand the skills that made her a successful detective.
Are you hinting at interest in watching more episodes of Smoke on Apple TV Plus?
Kind of. This first episode to me was just so slow that I don't know that based on this pilot, I could recommend more episodes for crime show Hive, especially like very dramatic Mayor of Easttown crime show Hive. But what I will say is this is such a strong cast. I feel like I have to give it another episode to see if it picks up. But if it continues to be this slow, I might just do the thing that I shouldn't, which is like wait till the finale comes out and just watch that.
Just the finale.
Sometimes I do that. And I know you do too.
I know. When did I do it?
I won't air your dirty laundry, but I've certainly witnessed you just reading the plot of a show in the middle and then tuning in for the last episode.
Anyway, when it comes to Smoke on Apple TV Plus, I would watch again, maybe while cooking or folding laundry. I am interested actually less in the detective work for the arsonist and more in Michelle's backstory and how her past is going to affect her future career, as well as this worker at this fried chicken joint and what that is leading up to.
Yeah, my man is about to snap. And frankly, so is Michelle.
Yes, they're both gonna hit a breaking point.
Those are two people on the edge, and rightfully so in both cases. I'm not saying what they do is right, but I'm saying there's a point.
They gotta set some boundaries.
Well, why don't you take us from the mountains of the Pacific Northwest to the rolling fields of a golf course?
You're talking about Stick on Apple TV Plus. A long, washed-up professional golfer named Bryce Cahill, played by Owen Wilson, turns toward a rising young star named Santi Wheeler, played by Peter Dagger, in the game to turn things around. So, me too, we have Owen Wilson playing golf. How do you feel?
This feels like a classic Owen Wilson story. I don't know that this gives away my rating, but what I will say is if you are Owen Wilson Hive, certainly Owen Wilson rom-com, or even buddy comedy hive, this sits so firmly in that of his character Price. Stop me if you've heard this one before, is somebody who's not living up to their potential, and he's relying on his charm and his wits to be a somewhat successful salesperson who is stuck in life.
You know, he knows how to play this type of character, and I think he does it well. Price is interesting in that he has this background as a professional golfer. Now he's divorced and in debt, and sees literally a random boy at a driving range and is a bit obsessed with coaching him. And you need that deranged, unhinged energy for this type of show.
You also can't really be a successful athlete, or at least not that I've seen, without being oddly obsessed with the sport. And so
that's fair.
We know that that lives within him. He had this public breakdown. We learn the very sad reasoning behind it, but the public is unaware of that. They just think of him as this has-been golfer who sort of threw it all away. And you learn through him finding this talent in Santi that he's obsessed with this sport and he can spot when someone really has it.
Yes, his skill, undeniable, both of them, Price and Santi. The question is, can they come together to make Santi the next big star?
Yeah, this is a big redemption story. The two themes that really stuck out to me in this first episode, aside from just generally comedy, because it is funny, is there's this redemption story of Price finding his footing, of Santi turning back to golf after being so turned off from it because of a negative relationship he has with golf, because of a negative relationship with his father. And then the other theme that comes up a lot here is gambling. A lot of people are gambling, quite literally gambling, and then also just sort of taking chances on themselves, on each other, deciding what's worth the bet.
That's true. From the very opening scene, someone is always gambling. And a lot of real money on the line, like a lot of money.
What I will also say about this one is we have some great secondary characters in this. We have Mitz, played by Mark Maron, that Mitz seems to be Price's kind of right-hand man, and I think their dynamic is very funny. Mark Maron obviously is a very, very funny man. And then the star of the show for me is
Emmy,
Price's ex-wife, played by Judy Greer. If you put Judy Greer in something, I will sit up and watch. She's always just the funniest part of whatever it is that I'm watching, and that streak continues in this show. Every scene with her, to me, was like 10 times better than the rest of the scenes. Not to say that the rest of the scenes were not great. It's just, she's just such a star. Like, she's just so good in this, both in the humor, like being very funny, but then in also the pushing Price and wanting him to be better, even if he doesn't want to be better.
Yes, she draws you to her in every scene that she appears in. We want to be honest. She's not a main cast member.
No.
We're also disappointed.
We hate to break it to you.
When you learn more about her character and the relationship that she had with Price and their marriage, it makes sense why she doesn't want to be a main character on this story.
I think who will be a main character, or at least a growing character in this, is Santi's mom, Elena, played by Mariana Trevino. She cracked me up, too.
She's a hustler. Also gambling.
She had her hand out to Price. She said, "You want my son's talent? I see you seeing us. Go ahead and hand me this money."
I didn't even know that was a real deal.
No, I didn't know that's something you could do. I didn't know you could ask for all she asked for and then cash on top. It certainly had me reevaluating just generally how I conduct myself.
Yeah, that is how you negotiate through life.
Yes. A life lesson from Elena.
Now that she taught you that lesson, will you keep watching Stick on Apple TV Plus for more?
I think as a comedy, this could have been a sharper show, but I was still really charmed by the cast. I think there's a reason that this is the #1 show right now for Apple TV Plus shows. It's just charming. And if you're a comedy hive, especially if you're Owen Wilson, rom-com, buddy-com hive, this is just another one where he's charming and it's very watchable.
It is watchable, but it didn't catch me, it didn't grab me like I would want.
Yeah.
So I think this is a would watch while traveling. I see potential, so I'm in a airport terminal or on a plane. I'll give it another shot.
All right. Well, what would your semi-autobiographical story be called?
What Me Too Remembers.
Whoa.
And it's actually a biography written in the style of an autobiography.
Okay.
And it's just everything you remember about my life.
Oh, no. Okay.
That's why it's just called What Me Too Remembers.
I knew that somehow my name would be what is in your story.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'll get to
You're in a
remembering.
lot of scenes in my story, so.
And that is an honor.
You're welcome.
Well, where can people find more episodes of the Pilot Podcast where we are in more scenes together recording this show?
Our scenes can be found at thepilotpodcast.com, and you can follow us on all of your favorite podcast platforms.
You can also follow us on social media at The Pilot Pod, and you can send thoughts, feelings, show recommendations, the names of your semi-autobiographical series to askthepilotpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
Bye.